So, hi everyone, welcome to the Cascade training session that's been done on behalf of Man Before Act. So I'm just a quick background of where we are. So I'm Alice Raven, I'm a researcher at Centric, and I've been helping Mandy to conduct the Cascade training session today. So just a bit of a brief background on the Man Before Act project. So this is a H2020 project. It's been lasting for 3 years now, and it finishes at the end of this year. And there's some key objectives that we have achieved during and are continuing to achieve during the Man Before Act project. So the first one is understanding radicalisation and recruiting methods. We also are looking to enhance the interdisciplinary fieldwork. We hope to develop training and capacity building at different levels, including the local level, hence this webinar today. We want to systematise the available knowledge and expertise of relevant experts, including law enforcement, non-government organisations, and a more local level. And we also look to utilise big data in order to analyse information. So basically, as part of the Man Before Act, we've been developing a training of the trainers event, which many of you might already be aware of. So basically, the objective of this event is to spread awareness of the different levels of radicalisation and understand radicalisation through a series of viewpoints. So as you can see on my screen, there's 6 different modules which have been presented as part of the training of the trainers event, and all of these modules are available on the Hermes platform, which is run by Agent4. So if you are interested in viewing any of these modules or wanting to replicate them again, please feel free to let myself or anyone in the Man Before Act team know, and we can get you access to the platform. So in particular for this webinar today, we're looking at module 4, which is the badly contrasted box at the bottom, which is basically looking at the awareness and early intervention at a local level surrounding radicalisation. So basically the key objectives of this module is to outline the key factors of radicalisation and understanding it as a dynamic and really complex term which cannot purely be discussed through this very short webinar. But hopefully we'll be able to give you a brief introduction and overview of the sort of things that need to be understood on a local level. We also want to understand the impact of social marginalisation as a risk factor and understand how individuals who are marginalised by communities, but also those who are the marginalisers, are both equally at risk of radicalisation. And finally, we want to show you how you can develop a local action plan and take inspiration from some of the strategies that are already out there to better mitigate this and mitigate against radicalisation at a local level. So without further ado, I'll pass you on to Mandy, who will run through some of the key things that she's found whilst watching module 4.
Yes, I have found it really interesting going through this module 4, and I've sort of put down some key notes of the findings, and I'd just like to go through them with you all. So if I could have number 1, please, Alice. Okay, so it is important to know that these key factors can change as radicalisation is a fast-moving and dynamic process. These factors can help us to understand the process better. So 1, radicalisation is closely linked to conflict. There may be a number of forms, such as building on internal conflicts of vulnerable individuals around identity. Radicalisation is influenced by culture, which cultural narratives are very important in the process of radicalisation. Radicalisation is not a short process. It can vary in its duration, can stop and start, and may have different intervals. There are different degrees of radicalisation which can be measured using different assessment tools, such as psychometrics in the context of intervention. It is a multivariate phenomenon. There is no single root cause of radicalisation. Understand that radicalisation has dynamics that can be analysed using certain factors, such as narratives. There are factors that can increase an individual's vulnerability to being recruited. Real risk and perceived risks are not fully balanced. It is important to keep this in mind. We know little about the demobilisation of radical individuals, but we should take actions to promote it and understand it. Evidence-based practice is very important. We need to base practice on scientific knowledge. Social marginalisation is a concept that has become widely recognised as a contribution factor to increasing the risk of vulnerable individuals. Marginalisation is understood as an individual or a group who has become unwillingly isolated and withdrawn from society because of differences in their culture and social values. Understanding marginalisation on a local level is key to understanding and intervening against the increased vulnerability of individuals. Immigration has become a high priority for the European Union. Societies are having to adapt to the growth in multicultural societies. This has also been seen in the policy-making field, where policies are being improved to become fairer and more effective. Within local communities, there has been a rise in disclosures which favours prejudice and discrimination of immigrants, refugees and other groups. This discourse has permeated into local communities and is being taken advantage of by extremist groups and political parties, particularly from the far right. Far-right groups are monopolising on public fears around immigration, ethical minorities and other cultures to gather support in the political sphere. There has been a significant rise in the number of far-right political groups. Evidence of this can be used to gather support, can be seen in an example of Stephen Yaxley. With these areas in mind, it's important to develop new ways to mitigate against the threat of radicalisation at a local level. The key areas to address are reducing the risk in prejudice and discrimination on a local level, such as Islamophobia, reinforce personal significance amongst those who are most at risk, such as those who have been marginalised by their community, create an emphasis on integrating traditionally marginalised groups into local communities. These recommendations come from the European RAN working group, tasked with bringing together the local authorities in charge of coordinating practitioners at their local level and organising their multicultural work and structures. The action plan should form the framework of a local agency approach. The aims of the action plan should ensure that there is shared vision which involves and shares responsibility amongst local and regional organisations and agencies. There are three parts to a successful action plan: using a collaborative and multi-agency approach, developing a prevention framework to address all parts of a local community, and gathering political support. Action plan should encourage a collaborative approach amongst authorities with localisations and agencies in the creation and implementation of the plan's vision. This could involve non-government organisations, charities and educational sectors. To successfully implement an action plan, political support is beneficial. Gathering the support will allow the relevant stakeholders to raise awareness of the action plan and show the purpose of the plan. The third part of the framework is utilising the prevention triangle approach. There are a range of different styles which can be used. This is divided into three layers: from general prevention, which is based at local communities as a whole, to individual prevention, which involves building rehabilitation techniques for those most at risk. The first layer is more general and focuses on impacting the larger community. This involves building resilience amongst wider societies, particularly amongst young people who are an at-risk group. The initiatives at this level include promoting democracy, involving educational institutions as key partners in creating safe environments for young people to discuss and challenge debates around sensitive topics. The second layer involves focusing initiatives more specifically at a grassroots level, focusing on those who are most vulnerable or at risk. This involves on a lower level working to strengthen individual social skills and build positive relationships within communities. Initiatives at this layer could involve establishing contact points who are responsible for working with and building relationships with at-risk individuals. The final layers are more specific, aimed at individuals who are known to be active in extremist environments and are at risk of becoming violent. The initiatives in this section are more tailored and specific, involving preventative dialogue, rehabilitation methods, and exit strategies.
Thanks for that, Mandy. That was really insightful. And I think it was really, sorry, that's our dogs kicking off there. So yeah, I think that was really insightful into understanding how radicalisation can be utilised on a local level, and how local action plans are a key aspect to trying to implement this, and then also creating a shared vision amongst different communities and different stakeholders involved in those communities. So I just had a very short Q&A session that I wanted to share with everyone, with Mandy, just to discuss how, particularly from a Rotherham perspective, this module may be useful. So the first question I had was, which part of the prevention triangle could be focused on in Rotherham when designing a new action plan?
So, and I've said Rotherham needs to focus on a grassroots level to understanding the diversity of the population within Rotherham.
Yeah, and the second question was, what are the benefits to using a local action plan within Rotherham?
So it keeps institutions focused on shared goals, gives clear direction, and distributes accountability to relevant services. And
the last one was, what organisations or institutions should be included in Rotherham's action plan?
So my thoughts were community safety, police, adult and children's services, religious institutions, and local agencies familiar within the areas.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's a very short but sweet, hopefully, and very insightful example of how these modules can be really useful for everyone to understand radicalisation from a different perspective. We've also opened the chat to see if there are any questions anyone wants to either ask me or Mandy in relation to this webinar. So if you do, then please feel free to email myself or email Mandy, and we can get back to you on any of those questions. And I can also speak to you more directly about the modules, or if you're interested in any other of the modules that we that my before's been presenting and showing, and they're also of interest to you, then please let me know. But yeah, so I think that is the end of the webinar, but I just want to check, because I think there is a short evaluation questionnaire that we've designed just to get a bit of an understanding of how you think the presentation can be improved, or if you what are some of the key findings that you found from the webinar today. So please bear with me for just 1 second. Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, the evaluation will be sent out right after this webinar finishes. So if you have chance to fill that out, that'd be really useful and helpful for us for implementing some more webinar sessions and trying to improve where we can. So thank you very much, everyone. And I hope that this provided a bit of an insight into understanding radicalisation at a local level. And thank you as well to Mandy for presenting for us today, and it's been a really insightful and in hopefully some cases rewarding presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.